across the town. As the first seasonal winds crept through every corner of Fairmont Crest, Haley couldn't shake the heavy feeling in her chest that something was terribly wrong with her life. Her husband, Bill, a respected, distinguished lawyer in the eyes of the community and even herself, had become distant and withdrawn. More and more, she sensed a polished facade masking something dark and deceitful beneath the seemingly perfect man. It was Haley who once convinced Bill to drop the charge of attempted murder against Danny, a woman she could never call a friend, whose every word and glance dripped with disdain. Haley chose peace over tension, hoping an outstretched hand might end the lingering rift. But that act of softness only brought her closer to the edge of a truth more sinister than she could ever imagine. Bill, the model husband, turned out to be the very one who had pushed the button that ended Kenny's life. A cold, calculated act, executed with chilling precision. This revelation didn't just shatter Haley's trust, but dragged Bill into a maze with no exit. The police were growing suspicious. Martin, the one holding the key to the truth, only had to speak, and everything would collapse like dominoes. Haley was no longer just a bystander wife. She was now a reluctant companion in the greatest storm of her life. She feared not just for Bill, but for herself, because once the truth was laid bare, neither of them would remain untouched behind their carefully constructed facade. The tension didn't stop there. The rift between Haley and Danny had long outgrown petty words. Danny had never hidden her contempt, and her sister, Nicole, was no fan of Haley either, believing her sister had been betrayed by the very man she once leaned on. The two sisters, like twin smoldering flames, now began to spread like wildfire amid swirling rumors and growing suspicions about Kenny's death and the relationship between Danny and Bill. In their eyes, Haley was the saboteur, the intruder who shattered the peace that once defined Danny's world. Twins Tyrell and Samantha, Martin's children, were caught in the middle of this storm, unaware of the full truth. Martin had told them a carefully edited version of events, a story designed to soothe the shock and divert attention. But time is the most silent and relentless of accusers. As days passed, Tyrell and Samantha began to feel unsettled. Something was off. There were gaps in their father's account, evasive glances, blurred details seemingly erased from memory. They didn't speak of it aloud, but both sensed that the story about Kenny wasn't as simple as it seemed. And if the horrifying truth emerged, could they handle it? Could they face the possibility that someone in their family was involved in a murder? Meanwhile, Danny received an offer she couldn't refuse. When Chelsea, once her ally and business partner, fired her from her management role and shut every door to the runway, Danny spiraled into a career dead end. Then, like a breath of fresh air, longtime friend Pamela appeared. Not only had she cut short her trip to attend Haley and Bill's wedding, she also helped Danny clean up the chaos Danny had caused in the newlyweds' home while they were away on their honeymoon. But more than anything, Pamela brought an opportunity, a handshake that could lead to their own modeling agency, a new path, a different door out of the mud Danny had been stuck in. The question was this truly a business proposal, or a ticket out of Fairmont Crest, a place that was growing increasingly suffocating? Both Danny and Pamela knew that in the fashion world, there's no room for missteps. One wrong move could ruin everything. Starting a business was a gamble, but their closeness made the offer ambiguous. Did Pamela genuinely want to rescue Danny from her unstable life? Or was she pulling her away from the eye of an impending scandal? Was this a relaxing trip, or the first step toward a high-stakes contract? Everything could be real, or just a mirage to distract Danny from the brewing storm. Bill, by now, was like prey being hunted. The shadows of his past could no longer be hidden behind prestige or slick justifications. The police were closing in. Every action, every word was subject to scrutiny, and if Martin spoke, it would all be over. Haley knew this. She had seen the tremble in her husband's eyes, felt the weight in his breath every time he came home. She knew he was living in fear, not only of the law but of those closest to them who were beginning to suspect. She had ventured too far into the secret to turn back. And now there was only one way forward, to keep everything from collapsing. But she also knew the truth always finds its way to the surface, no matter how deeply it is buried. Nicole, sharp and outspoken, began to follow the overlooked clues. Tiny details, whispered conversations, odd expressions from Bill, Haley, Martin. They all stirred in her a deep unease and a relentless drive to uncover what was being hidden. She wasn't doing it for Danny or for Haley, but for herself, to find the truth everyone else was too afraid to confront. Tyrell and Samantha, meanwhile, still haunted by unanswered questions, began to dig into records, scattered memories of Kinney, trying to piece together a full picture. They knew their father had lied. The only question was, why? Fairmont Crest, once a symbol of peace and close-knit community, was now a pressure cooker inching toward explosion. A murder, a prolonged lie, a web of tangled relationships, a life-altering offer. Everything converging at a single point. The truth. And when that truth finally surfaces, no one will escape without scars. Each person in this story carries a secret, a wound, a fear. And the only certainty is this. Whatever happened beyond the gates won't stop there. The storm is coming, and none of them will escape its path. You in the future. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. TV Soap news and spoilers for more updates on Beyond the Gates.